Guys, thanks for watching Precision Rifle Network today. Joel here. So today I am looking at changing this Vudoo 22 from a Manners stock into an MDT ACC chassis. So let's get into it. So the problem is, it's not really a problem, it's a first world problem. Let's call it a first world problem. My first world problem here is that I have my Vudoo 22 sitting in this Manners stock. The issue is that I can just get a little more adjustability, fine tuning to my body with my rifle by switching maybe to a chassis. Now, I just want to say right up at the front, they did provide me with this MDT ACC chassis because they're a super cool, generous company who supports Precision Rifle Network, my channel. Some of you might think that that means that I can't give an objective, overview of a product. I will tell you that I only have 2 sponsors total on this channel because I pick and choose specifically who I want to represent on my channel. And I use an MDT ACC chassis on my main competition rifle, which is sitting right here, for a year or more before I ever decided to approach them about sponsorship. So guys, this is going to be a slightly longer video because I'm going to show every step of the process. Typically I'm in those 4 to 5 minute range videos. I'm going to go ahead and let this one draw out. So grab yourself an adult beverage and your favorite snack, and let's get into this. All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get this baby switched out. Got a 3/16 inch T-handle wrench, and I'm just gonna flip this over, loosen these guys up. Super difficult. You needed a video for that, right? Okay, now that we've got that taken out of there, I'm gonna set that guy aside up here just a little ways. Be careful of putting any pressure on that trigger. Now, we've got the weight system here. This is the internal weight system for the chassis. Now, we're not trying to make a 22 long rifle all that much more heavy. What we're really trying to do is balance the rifle. As one of my colleagues adeptly pointed out here recently on one of my Instagram posts, a balanced rifle is more important than a rifle that shoots with less recoil because you've added weight. Absolutely 100% agree. So the 22 is the perfect kind of representation of that thought, right? We want a balanced rifle. We're not necessarily trying to minimize the recoil because the 22 long rifle doesn't have any recoil to begin with. You know, I'm going to add a couple up towards the front, and then I'm going to put the barreled action in and kind of see how it balances, and I might shift these around a little bit. All right, I've got 2 weights in up at the front. Let's go ahead and just sit this guy in here and see what happens. Still a little back heavy. We're gonna go ahead and add another one. I've got to remember I'm gonna have my bipod on here the majority of the time, so that adds weight as well. Go ahead and throw the Atlas Cal on there. Again, that adds some weight, so just a little back heavy with that, but let's add this in. All right, that's sitting pretty good. We might call that quits. You could throw a loaded magazine in here just to make sure, but I'm feeling a little more pressure on the front. You know, you don't need to balance it on a single point, right? You're always going to be running a bag or something underneath here for the most part. So as long as that rifle is nicely balanced, it's not going to be tipping in any weird way, then when you square up behind this thing, you'll have a nice shooting platform. So I think we're going to try it like that. I may fine tune as we go along. There are other weight systems that I can attach just to the outside M-lock rails from MDT as well. So lots of adjustability. And get our action screws in. I usually like to do the front one. You want to make sure that that lug is positioned in that lug channel just correctly and pushed right up against where it needs to be, and then tighten the front one down first. Now I will torque these down after the fact, but I won't bore you with that on the video, so just gonna snug them in for now. I always like to make sure that rear action screw isn't kind of sticking up in the way where it's going to contact the bolt. But these are the supplied bolts from MDT, and they obviously know their chassis and their systems and Remington 700 platforms because it fits perfectly. So there's that guy right there. Looks good. I think we're gonna have to get her out on the range and see how she shoots. Should have done it before and after. Like, how does it shoot for groups at 50 yards or however? I zero my 22 long rifle at 50 yards. I'm assuming most people do. It's kind of the common go-to. I could have given you groups you know, with the Manners at 50 yards to show you that it shoots, you know, about a third of an inch, something like that, 0.3, 0.4. I could have, would have, maybe should have done that, but we're not doing that today. Suffice to say, if you're shooting a Vudoo 22, you know it's a tack driver, especially if you're using really good, you know, high quality match ammo like an SK or something like that. They shoot lights out anyway, as long as the operator does. Operator, you know, I'm not referring to military or law enforcement. As long as the driver of the gun does what they're supposed to do, these things are absolute tack drivers anyway. So I don't expect to see all that much difference in the accuracy, but we're gonna go ahead and put some shots on target just to re-zero and make sure that everything's good to go. And then with any luck, we'll stretch her out to a couple hundred yards today. All right, guys, we've got her properly balanced now. I had to go ahead and add 2 of the outside or the external M-lock slot weights to the front to get it to balance. So when we set it on here now, we should just be able to walk away from that gun and have it sit there. One thing I did want to point out is just the adjustability in the MDT ACC chassis, because it's pretty awesome. The grip, in case you didn't know, this newer grip, call it a Gen 2, slides forward and backward. You've got some tilt to it, so you can just get your hand in exactly the right placement for a perfect 90-degree trigger press, for comfort, so that you don't disturb the rifle in any way during the firing sequence. Another thing that I love, obviously, lots of length of pull here by way of the turn wheel. You can actually slide your butt plate up and down. I typically will run it a little bit higher on my centerfire rifles, any rifle, just it's the right fit for me to get right into my collarbone, a little high, not too high, but you don't want, when the recoil comes into your shoulder, you don't want it kind of sliding down on you. So you want to make sure that that buttstock gets high and kind of in that pocket of your shoulder, collarbone right there. And then on the cheek piece, I have a high cheekbone, and so when I get my cheekbone right up into there, I got to make sure that that fits just right. And I probably will use some of the adjustability here, back these screws off, and take this cheek piece and actually move it towards my face a little bit. Just shift me just a tiniest little bit to the left so that I've got perfect sight alignment, sight picture there. Sight picture, rather. All right, let's see what this little guy will do out there on that piece of paper at 100 yards. That's a decent wind out here today for a 22. I may not be able to see these down there, but we're going to give her a shot, guys. Looking like a 5 to 7, closer to a 7 probably from our, yeah, almost full value. So, you know, I'm going to give it something for that. See what we get here. Pick a spot to aim at. See how much our wind is actually off. All right, well, this should be interesting. 14.9 mils to 300 yards. I'm not much of the extreme long range for these 22s, and some of you guys out there that are doing like 600 yards with your 22s or even farther are chuckling at me at the use of extreme long range, but I don't care. 300 yards is a poke for a 22 long rifle. So we will see what we get here. I don't even know what to guesstimate for wind, so I'm just going to really go off of what the Kestrel says. Looking at about a 1.2, 1.3 if that wind is consistent out there. So we're just going to give her a shot and see what happens. Really clean target down there, so we'll see. There's 14, 15, back her off, 14.9. Well, I got an impact. That was surprising, but we did impact. I think we're either just low and left or high center. I'm about to fire another one and see. That was another impact. There's a group on the plate there that's just on the left-hand side. I'm going to back it off on the wind a little bit and see if we can see it come in. Good impact, just high and right at the 2 o'clock. Okay, so now that I've got a good visual of it, we've got 1.5 mils of wind out there. Yeah, 1.5 mils of wind. Our elevation was right on. So let's go ahead and get this guy set right there. Impact. Miss. Unless I just didn't hear it. It's possible. And out. Boy, it's tough. It's tough to see down there. 300 yards with a 22 long rifle in a 7-mile-per-hour wind from roughly our 8 o'clock. So again, 14.9 mils of elevation and holding 1.5 for wind. So that's kind of fun. Well, here we go. This is 300 yards. Dang, it's muddier down here than I thought. Yeah, there we go. These guys on the left, these little ones here, those are the ones that I couldn't see. And then I made my correction and finally figured out, well, not finally, but these were my initial wind calls right here when I was only holding about 1 mil of wind to start with. Here were my shots when I started holding 1.5 mils. So looks like there's another one down there. Maybe that's a tiny one. So here, 5 shots. I think I sent 10 down here originally. So I missed 5 of those shots and impacted 5. So if you want to call that a group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what that measures, you know. There's my hand. You probably got 7 inches plus another 3, call it a 10-inch group, roughly, very roughly. So anyway, good impacts out of the 22 long rifle at that distance. No complaints from me. This was my initial 5-shot group at 100 yards. My aiming point was that little 1/2 inch square. I'm guesstimating a 1/2 inch. I will get a little better picture for you with the actual group size, but looking like about 1 inch, maybe a little bit more than 1 inch at 100 yards. Well guys, overall I think it was a good change switching from the Manners stock to the ACC chassis. I got a lot more adjustability in that. Was able to just fine tune it to my shoulder and my face, and at the end of the day, being able to tailor your rifle's fit to your body will help you be more consistent. with your shots. So a good switch, I think. It definitely balances better now. I didn't have good balance with the rifle before, and now she balances perfectly, and that definitely benefits your shooting. Your shooting as well. And so thanks for watching a slightly longer video today, guys, just kind of playing around, but hopefully you enjoyed it. If you do, thanks for watching, and hit that thumbs up button, and consider supporting through Patreon, link in the description for that. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks.